Dukes Nation, this is your home for all things Duquesne University athletics, whether it's basketball or football or soccer or lacrosse or volleyball, track and field, golf, swimming, you name it, everything in between. If it's happening at UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, Arthur J. Rooney Athletic Field, or anywhere our Dukes play, you're going to hear about it here. Hello and welcome, Dukes fans. You are looking at co-producer Rudy Longarini inside the worldwide headquarters and studios of All Dukes Sports Talk. I'm Bob Healy III, joined as always by Nick Frost, and we are uniting Dukes Nation for a conversation on all things Duquesne University athletics. So without further ado, let's get to it, and let's go Dukes! Hey Dukes Nation, welcome back to another episode of All Dukes Sports Talk. I'm Bob Healy III, joined as always by Nick Frost in Pittsburgh, and out in California is Rudy Longarini. We'll get to our special guest coming up soon. It's not been a great week for the Dukes. Duquesne basketball in general had a really rough yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday, March 1st, but they finished February kind of on a down note. The Duquesne men falling 91-76 on the road at nationally ranked number 23 St. Louis, and the Duquesne women also falling yesterday, and that was the regular season finale for the Dukes ladies. That puts them in the number 12 seed of the the Atlantic 10 Championship Tournament upcoming in Henrico, Virginia. And we'll talk about that as well. But it was actually a pretty hard-fought game. They were in it for a while there, but ultimately the Dukes ladies 65-48 losers to a very good George Mason team, which ended up winning a share of the A-10 regular season title. The Dukes ladies actually have been on kind of a tear if you consider how their season had gone up until then. So they don't necessarily go into the A-10 tournament on a down note, but the Duquesne men are now losers of 3 in a row, and that's coming on the heels of a 5-game winning streak when they were the hottest team in the Atlantic 10. Our special guest this week from A10Talk.com, as well as a host of other Duquesne University student media outlets, is none other than a returner to the show and Mr. Jack Morgan. Jack, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me back. Thank you.
So it's March Madness time, right? Or we hope so anyway. As Jack knows from my sports media practices class, right, Jack, March Madness is only for NCAA Division I men's and women's basketball, and it means the tournament. You have to make the show. So the Duquesne men not in the show last year, and this year we thought maybe they'd have a chance to pull off maybe something special again in the A-10. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm kind of down on us lately. I don't like what I'm seeing out of John Hughley for the last month. I liked when he first came back to the lineup. I thought he was contributing. Now I don't think so much. I love Dave Dixon. I'm a little disappointed in Jake DeMichael. It could just be how they're using him, perhaps. And also, Jakob Netjes, I don't think, has put quality minutes on the floor the last few games either. Anyway, not what he's capable of, I should say. So I'm a little down on him. However, that being said, guys, and I'll get your thoughts on this first, Jack. I do think if we play, we being Duquesne, if we play St. Louis again at a neutral site, well, actually, if you think about it, it's really in Pittsburgh, right? But if we get them again, I don't hate our chances. In fact, even though yesterday's loss, again, we're recording on March 1st, even though yesterday's loss was by a wide margin, ended up being 15 points. There was, by the way, a bad beat on the point spread if you do happen to gamble on this sort of thing, with a meaningless 3 at the end from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there. But anyway, it was that game actually got out of hand late, but the Dukes were only down by 2 with a couple minutes left. The first time we played them, I thought that we never had a chance to win that game, and we came back late. This game yesterday, I thought we had a good chance to win throughout the first half because we were leading at halftime. And then late in the game, when Ginyard put the team on his back and pulled that comeback off. But I think if we play them a third time, I don't hate our chances. But to me, there's just a lot of holes, Jack, right now in our lineup. We rely too much on one guy. You know, if one guy goes cold and we just have Ginyard, I just don't know if he can do it all on his own.
Yeah, it certainly is a lot that's being placed on Ginyard, but I think where the Dukes had success was when Jimmy Williams was able to contribute at the level of 10 plus a game, which you were pretty much he was pretty much a shoo-in for up until about a couple of weeks ago. Hasn't had the best of performances, but Duquesne was in that game because they got the 45 points in terms of contribution combined from Williams and Ginyard last night, and it almost ended up with them having an opportunity to sneak away with the game. They just have not gotten what they have needed from the supporting cast. You talked about DeMichael. I think that he could be playing better. I think he's almost in that role that we saw him in 2023, 24, but he's just missing shots as of late. He had that game against George Mason where I thought he had 6 or 7 points that kind of felt very valuable and crucial during the stretch. And John Hewley, I got no explanation on, quite frankly. I don't exactly understand why he has been playing the way he has, but it's just he has not been able to get it going offensively. And he's more of an offensive minded guy. Defensively, he's really been a letdown, unfortunately. And I just, obviously, he has a lot of talent. So it would be unfair to say, hey, now we're all out on him. There's no chance that maybe down the line he has a couple big performances that help lift the Dukes in the tournament, or maybe in these final 2 games against Rhode Island and Richmond. But you can't get a double bye, but you certainly could get a favorable matchup if you win these final 2 games. I think with Duquesne, it comes down to getting the right matchup. If they can get the right draw, who says they can't rattle off a couple wins in the tournament? But for right now, you're right. It's a rough stretch for the Dukes.
Yeah, Nick, I think the last two games are huge, not just for positioning, but for getting your game kind of back where you need it to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, we gave up ultimately 91 points against St. Louis, so that's probably the biggest points that we've allowed in a long time. I think the real recipe for disaster that's happened recently is both in Dayton and against St. Louis. When we had both Netchus and Dixon off the floor at the same time, that's when the other team started really attacking us, and we didn't have any answers. So, I mean, that's kind of an obvious statement. It was kind of weird when Dixon and Natchez were both taken out against St. Louis, and I think I looked. We had all of our starters in. We were up. I think it was 22-8 at the TV timeout, something around there.
Yeah.
And then we took out four of our starters and just left Jimmy Williams with all of the bench guys, which usually they're decent contributors, but I feel like that was just kind of too much all at once, where we dropped off from all of our starters to them for an extended period of time, and that kind of is when St. Louis started eating back into the game. Um, Obviously, there's been a lot of gripes about Cam and recently DeMichael when it comes to the wing, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, dude.
I I think if we they can still be valuable in pinch hitting, but I think they can't have that. We need more of a combination of starters and bench guys when we're doing those subs. I think that's really the biggest indication is that huge drop off if we take all of them out at once. It's hard to get the momentum back in our favor. I mean, TG does great things. Jimmy can do great things, but Netchus, Dixon can take over the games occasionally at times. But it once you lose that momentum, especially on the road or in a neutral site, it's tough to get back.
Rudy?
Ginyard, got us back into the game. 2 points within 2 points. The previous game, and he went off. We scored like 60 some odd points. The previous game before that, our worst offensive showing, okay, of the season, and he scored 27. I mean 20. So I mean that was like what a third of our offense. So, dude, uh, you know, uh, I can't. I think what it is that we can't get Williams, Jimmy open like we used to. And I don't know what it is, but he's not driving and getting the looks, particularly in 3-point range right now. He's not getting the looks, and when he does, I mean, they're all over him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I don't see us ever. No one ever drives the lane besides TG,
right.
right?
That's
To
the
force
thing.
pressure in to kick out. He's the only guy. And when he's off the floor, we don't have that in our arsenal. Unless I'm
And then
mistaken, I don't know,
the
Jack
other
or Nick, I
guy,
don't see anybody
Ginyard,
else doing it.
right? Ginyard, attacks the rim too. I mean, if it, dude. So that's that. The thing is that, dude, I have to disagree with you a little bit about Hughley because, dude, he's been a non-factor for the last since he came back. So I mean, what are we expecting from him? I think they should put the what's his name in there.
Van Bussell.
Yeah. So,
Well,
dude,
Hughley's
but
got a lot of.
yeah,
Hughley was a
Hughley,
big recruit. I mean, he's a transfer that you're relying on.
right?
Apparently,
But
he
dude,
wasn't cheap.
we went off. We were not. He's not even in the rotation in the last 10 games. So I don't. What are we worried about him for? I mean, he's you put him in there for a couple seconds to spell a Dixon, and so. And then the
But
last thing,
he doesn't defend. Yeah, he doesn't defend like Dave, and that's the
no,
problem.
no, I understand that. No,
I don't know what to
no
do,
doubt.
honestly.
He's not a, they see him in there and they go, here, let me drive on him. So, he's a non-factor. So what are we even talking about him? The only thing that I say is we've gotten subpar games from Nexus. The last 2 or 3 games. Okay. He's got to pick it up. He's got to score. He's got to, it wasn't like he got any, he was blocked or anything. He's just not,
He doesn't shoot.
He's disappeared in
He
the
doesn't shoot.
offense. And
He has one shot. He had one shot in 22 minutes.
Right. And then the other thing, sir, I have to say is dude, I mean, what this has showed me the last 3 or 4 games is that it's the coming out of Dixon. We failed to recognize the other day when he scored 17. Well, that was his career high, wasn't it? Was that his career high?
Well, I can find out for us.
Check it out.
Look into it now.
And so,
I think he had 17 against St. Joe's last year in that
right. He's
great game.
It was a season. It was
games,
a season high, I believe.
Season high.
The last 3 or 4 games, he's been a double machine, rebounds and points. So you can't ask any more of my man Dixon. Okay. So,
well, but Rudy, isn't that the problem? Like, because if you're relying on him to be in there, though, he's not going to play 40 minutes.
Right, I understand that, and he's going to get in foul trouble. So
right.
You got to, but you're bringing up Hughley. He gave us what? 5 minutes, 8 minutes the last game. He's a non-factor.
Yeah,
What's happened is Nexus, have you noticed, has reduced minutes, and they've been giving them to Alex Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what's been happening. So it's a combination of he's not getting as much time because you got Alex Williams in there, and Alex has got to come through. The only thing about Alex is that I notice about him is that he gets easily blocked when he goes to the basket, when he tries to go to the rim and score that way.
He's only 6'5". I mean, for him to be
he's only 6'5", and that's a problem. So
yeah.
But we got him playing some major power forward minutes, okay? Because many times, and I've noticed this about him, that when we played, what was it, St. Bonaventure, that guy, the post guy, was chewing us up, okay? And they put Alex in there, and one thing that he does do is that he stands his ground. What he can't do is move from that ground quickly enough to the basket. So that's his limitations. And he's a spot up 3-point shooter from the corner, from the top of the key, and we got to have him in there. Otherwise, because if the other Williams, Jimmy's not getting us points, we got to get points someplace else, and that's Alex.
All right,
So, and
I gotta get somebody else in here on this. Nick,
yeah,
you keep
go
trying,
ahead.
you're trying to come in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the solution is, I mean, Hughley's not providing good enough minutes at the center, and Bus is decent, but he still can't guard these stretch bigs that we've been facing. So the answer seems like what it looked like we were leaning towards, which is rolling Netchus over to the center when Dixon does need a break, and then having Williams at the four at that time. And that way you still have Netchus playing around 30 minutes, Dixon playing around 30 minutes, and then Alex Williams playing around 30 minutes among those big allocations. That seemed like it was going to be the solution. We were doing well. I remember specifically the GW game, that seemed to be the plan, and it worked well. So I don't know why we've necessarily changed our ways there. Maybe Netchus is dealing with something, which would explain the drop off in production and lowered
Right,
minutes.
he hasn't
Uh,
gotten many minutes the last couple of
but
games. He's
but
reduced
from a,
minutes. He was playing 30 some minutes a game before, and now he's playing what? What did he play the last game? 12.
20, 21, I get.
Yeah.
yeah, but from an offensive standpoint, we've all said it many times that we want him to shoot more and more, and it has gone down recently. I I almost think that he feels more comfortable playing a role in the offense when the offense is clicking, and when it's not, he goes even more into team role player mode as opposed to stepping up. So hopefully they can fix that in these next two games, and he can address it because he made some of the biggest shots possible in the 2024 run. I'd
Yep.
love to see those come back during this tournament run.
Hey, Jack, you don't have to take it in this direction. You can comment on anything you've heard, but like, I just want to mention this about Hughley because to me, he's been the biggest disappointment.
Oh,
Hughley
no
did have
doubt.
Hughley had 10 points and 5 boards against St. Bonaventure back in late January, right? And that was in 19 minutes. He's a 75% free throw shooter. Like, ideally, of course, a guy like that spells Dixon, right? And he also presents a scoring threat. But he just, for whatever reason, and maybe it started with the disciplinary problems. That's why, to me, he's the biggest disappointment. He's like the missing piece that would have turned this team into a contender, and he hasn't been there for him.
I think, yes, certainly. And I think a lot of it, what I continue to go back to is something I don't think any of us really know about is what happened in December into January. All I got for you is the statement that was put out. And quite frankly, beside that, we don't know much. But there's a lot that goes into a college basketball team behind the scenes that we don't see. And you can throw all these theories around, and I would entertain some of them, but I think Hughley is not in touch with this team right now. He's a great basketball player, and you can't say he isn't. Like, we literally saw this for a 2 month span. However, he's just not with the team right now. I just feel like he's there when this team is on the courts. It doesn't feel like he's a part of the team, which is unfortunate. I wish I wasn't seeing that, but it's kind of what I've noticed. Other guys like Williams, again, they're part of the offense. The Michaels, still, he's not putting out what he wants, but he's a part of the offense. Guys like Brandon Hall, part of the offense, part of the defensive scheme. It feels like Hughley's not there right now. So it certainly makes me wonder, but that's kind of where I'm at with Hughley. I think it's been a big disappointment.
I would have loved to have, I mean, we'd kill for a player like Larry Blurd, Robbie Avila to be on our team. I called him Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
Yeah,
beforehand. Obviously, I mean, the
they had a
guy's,
lot of nicknames for him.
yeah, I hate Larry Nerd is a good one. But what was the other one? Milk Chamberlain is pretty funny. But I was so impressed, by him in the late when he came into that game. I think he scored all but two of his points or something in the second half. I mean, and he was in foul trouble. Like, I loved when he kept getting called for fouls early in the game, and I thought the refs did call it very tight. I was like, this is
Yeah.
great. Avila keeps getting nailed with fouls. Then he comes in the game and let me just bring this up because I noticed this when I was prepping for the show. Um, so Avila comes into the game in the second half. Well, here, late in the game. He gets subbed in when the Dukes crawl within two, right? So they call timeout right after Ginyard's three. Here comes Avila. All right. First thing he does is he blocks a shot. Okay. Right here. So he blocks Brandon Hall in the paint, comes down and he dishes out an assist on a three-pointer. Then he dishes out
Yep.
another assist on a three-pointer. Then another assist on a jumper. He ended up with like 7 assists. I'll have to go back and double check this. And then of course he makes the three-pointer to in walk-off fashion at the end. We just don't have a player like Robbie Avila. We also don't have a student section, unfortunately, like St. Louis's, and the way that
Don't get
Very
me
true.
started on that, man.
yeah. But this
Unbelievable.
guy
Hey,
finished with 7 assists, right? 7 boards, 23 points. Ginyard with 27 to lead all players, but like Avila just does things that, he's the perfect stretch player. He's the modern player with his NBA body and everything too. What can you do? A guy like that sort of takes over a game. But
Yep.
it's not as if we haven't played them tight twice. We just lack the ability to have one guy take over. Even much as I love TG, he's not Day Day and he's not Jimmy, the third, Jimmy Clark. And that's asking a lot, don't get me wrong. And I love Dave Dixon and I love what Terrence Ginyard's given us so far this year. But I still don't think we have star power. I think Ginyard is an all conference player. I think Dave is going to be all defensive finally, but we don't have these guys who are borderline all Americans or all region. We don't have a first team all region or second team all region player. We just don't. And that's that to me. That's the biggest hole. We're deep, but if you have a lot of good guys, you don't have a great guy. I don't think we have a great guy. That's me.
I'd
well,
push back a little and say
Go
TJ
ahead.
is a great
hey,
guy.
the other thing I wanted to say was that, I hate to say this, but DeMichael, I mean, uh, I you guys speak often of him and stuff, but dude, his injury, I don't think I, frankly, he's too slow-footed for me.
He looks slower than he did 2 years ago. Yeah, he does.
He does.
But you can't blame him with all the injuries he had
No,
back
I
to
know,
back to
dude.
back.
I
He
know.
never.
I understand, dude. But let's call a spade here, dude. Let's call it like it is. We're not, this is
Well, that's the thing,
this
Rudy. I
is
mean, look, when
this
you
is
get these guys, he's coming off the bench, right? And he's not
right.
contributing like he used to. And then you got John Hughley come off the bench, and he's not contributing like he was supposed to. They're not as deep as we think. They have a lot of good guys, but like
Right.
once you get down, we take out a couple of starters, like we're so vulnerable, and it keeps happening to us. By the way, Nick, I was talking over you before. Someone when you mentioned you think TG is that star, right? I mean, I can't say I disagree with you. I mean, it's a reasonable thing to say. I just don't think that's a guy that's gonna win you the Atlantic 10 tournament. That's asking a ton, I know, but he doesn't have a Robin to his Batman either. We thought one of the Williams was going to be that or both, but that's tapered off too, Nick.
Yeah, I think if you look at it this way, if we trade TG for Robbie Avila, I don't think we're winning the A-10 tournament in a better spot with that roster because we don't have a point guard in that scenario. It takes
Yeah,
a whole
right.
team to do that. So I do think TG is at that star level. It's just like you've been bringing up, the supporting cast is not as strong as we thought it was going to be. Um, I do think that Dixon is good enough. I think Jimmy Williams can be good enough and has been good enough during this season. This rough stretch aside, which he sort of came out of against St. Louis, he had a better game. Alex Williams can be, but he's not always the on fire producer like he was in that George Mason game. And Netchis has shown signs that he can be. It's just a matter of getting those performances to come out all together at the same time during this conference run. So that's why I'm still optimistic, even despite the recent results, because I've still seen enough from the team over the course of the season where we could have it all click together. But would I bet on that? No. So uh,
Mhm.
I believe it can happen. I'm hoping it happens, but we'll see.
Well, obviously the team doesn't need to be a top four to win the conference. We've seen that it happened 2 years ago. But I like people are vulnerable in this conference right now. No one's invincible. Um, I think St. Louis to me is an at-large team anyway, and sometimes that works in your favor because they don't need to win the tournament. to get
Right.
into the NCAAs. I don't know if that was a factor in 24 when we went up against Dayton. Um, I don't know if St. Louis takes their foot off the gas because they feel like they're going to comfortably make it. VCU, I think, does need to win the tourney, and everybody below them like us. I still am scared of Dayton come tournament time because I'm just scared of Dayton because I'm a Duquesne alum.
There you
I've seen
go.
it happen too many times, right? But this is a situation now where the Dukes are going to be wiggling for positioning. If I can show you the bracket here, this is the current standings, right? So the Dukes cannot get to the top 4, but they can get as high as 5th. And then there'll be some tiebreaker situations, looks like, and they might need some help. But here is the upcoming schedule. The Dukes will play, pardon my mouse here as I do this on the fly. The Dukes' next game, and this
Rhode
will
Island.
be a home game. Oh, excuse me, right, at Rhode Island.
Yeah.
This is going to be coming up on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then the Dukes finish it with the Chuck Cooper Classic on Saturday the 7th. So these are all coming up. These two this week. That's a 2 p.m. tip-off at the Cooper Fieldhouse. And I think the first 700 fans get a Chuck Cooper bobblehead. So I'm going to try to wrangle my way into one of those. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, that all precedes, of course, the Atlantic 10 championships. If you look, so Rhode Island and Richmond, if I throw up the standings here, you can see where they are, right? Rhode Island, which just lost to Loyola Chicago, right? They're vulnerable. I have that as a W. And then obviously the Richmond game, they're right here at 5-11 in the conference. To me, you could take care of these 2 wins. You get back, in the right mode. You get your rotation set. You get some confidence, and you finish the season 10-8. And your overall record at that point would be a very respectable 18-13 with a shot at a 20-win season, right? Which is cool. I mean, if you don't end up winning the whole thing, it's an NIT kind of level year, perhaps. It could be worse, guys. I mean, considering how dark it was up until 2024 here on the bluff. I mean, we're asking a lot and we're getting greedy, but if you win it once, you want to win it again. And so that's what we're all thinking. This is how the bracket would end up looking. If I'm going to grab the championship bracket here. So the Dukes would be out of the bottom 4. So they get one of the buys and they're going to be somewhere in here, somewhere between obviously the 5 seed then, excuse me, and the 10 seed, which would have to play here in the second round. And then the top 4 teams will be right here. This is going to run at PPG Paints Arena, and I've learned you can get an all-session pass, which is pretty cool. So Pittsburghers anybody from town can watch the whole thing. Rudy's going to be bunking with me. And he's going to be staying with me that week, and we're going to be down there a bunch. So if you see us and you see Rudy in person, feel free to stop and say hi. Yesterday at the women's game, somebody on the front row, gosh, I feel terrible. I can't remember his name. Jack, I believe it was. Oh, dang. It'll come to me and I'll say it here. But he grabbed me in the front row after my team played at halftime, my girls team. And he says, Bob, I love the podcast. And he watches every episode. I'm going to remember his name before we're done here and give him a shout out. He watches every episode. He's been to like every Duquesne football game besides like 2 or 3 since 1969. So he told me he used to like watching me play. That's pretty cool. But he
Big Bob Healy fan.
Yeah, how about that? Hardcore fan. And so people
He's
are
all
watching.
over everything you do.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. That's good. That's good. Eyeballs on our content. I want to remember his name. But guys, people are watching, and if you see Rudy, give him some love too, because without him, we couldn't make this happen. But we're going to be down at PPG Paints a bunch that week. Jack, have you made plans to cover the tournament for A10Talk.com? Are you going to be on the beat?
Yes, yeah, I am. I got approved last month, so yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. We're getting a few people from DSTV to get some experience there as well. So it should be a fun week. We got a lot to make happen. Hopefully, the Dukes can give an extra game to us this year instead of bowing out in the first round like last year. So we'll see.
So if you're planning ahead, it's going to be Thursday, March 12th that the Dukes are going to be one of those second round matchups. Again, somewhere, those are where the middle groups are. And all those games are going to be on USA Network, but no reason not to come down and check it out in person. Guys, before I pivot over to women's, I want to make sure we cover all of our bases on the men's side. Rudy, a couple times I cut you off. Did you get everything you needed to say out about the men? Or is this therapy for you?
This is a spring well of no, I think that, dude, I want to reiterate and second your opinion on the fact that we could beat anybody in the conference. I don't fear anybody. Okay, we could beat anybody in the conference. We stayed in. We beat. Okay, we didn't almost beat St. Louis, but we hung with those guys, and I think
I say we almost
the
did.
third time around, it's really hard to beat any kind of basketball team, any kind of football team. Three times in a row. So I like our chances, man. I'm not afraid of Dayton. I'm not afraid of any other team that we should face. So just get in, dude, and I'll see you guys there, man. Stop in and say hi. I'll be with my friend Jay Walters and Denny Johnson. Uh, my frat brothers and stuff like that. And you guys got to stop in and say hi and just give me all kinds of hell and tell me that you disagree with me.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, though, I agree with Healy real quick. I think it's a built-in fear to be scared of Dayton in any sense.
Right.
I've developed that over the last 2 years. I don't like that I have, but it's a gut feeling now.
Every Duquesne person minors in here fearing and hating Dayton.
Yeah.
I feel better after we beat them in 2024 still, even though we haven't beat them since.
I wish I could feel that high again.
I mean, the years of almost there with the Hughes and Sincere Carey teams and all those, finally beating them with that great Trey Williams performance where he literally gave it all for the team. I think that these guys can do that. Jakob could play that very same role. It's just going to take an A game to win this whole thing from the entire team. I don't think we've really played that recently, so that's where I'm hoping that we can turn it around these next 2 weeks or next week and a half. I know the wins are important for seeding, but honestly, if we're just getting better performances from the guys who have been struggling, even if we lose a game or two over the next stretch here, I'd feel better about our chances going into the tournament. So that's where I am on the guys. But I do want to give a shout out to Dave Dixon as well for his senior day being that Chuck Cooper Classic game. Everybody, please come down and give this guy the flowers he deserves.
Can I say
massive
something,
ovation?
dude? Can I say one other thing too?
Absolutely.
Students, come on, students, man, come on, man.
I don't think we can for those that listen to our
so
pod.
the other thing
I'm right there with you, man.
The other thing was,
Thanks, Jack.
did you notice that the A-10 basically has like a showcase game, other than they do on Sundays for the A-10 on the USA Network? Is it? They cover Friday night, and they got a captive national audience because on Friday nights, what other conference in the country is playing games? And they kind of like feature it, saying, okay, we're going to come to your school, okay, and show out on Friday night. You're going to have your national attention, okay? And I was thinking, could our Dukes fans show up for that? Would they even show up for that?
Talking about Friday the 13th at the tournament?
Well, what I'm saying to you is that, what we don't deserve.
I guarantee you, if we're in the championship game, you'll see a big crowd of students. I think if you're in the championship game or even the semis, the students are back. They're not on spring break during that week. Like, they're on campus, and if that thing's right down the street at PPG Paints, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's when you'll see a big turnout. Just like the students always turned out for the city game, they would turn out.
See, but I'm gonna side with Rudy there. I gotta be honest. I don't want them to. You know what? If they don't show up to these games and support this team, I've went on 20 different rants about this. So trust me, I believe every word of it. I'm not I'm not proud of it. I have people I want to blame that I don't want to blame it on public, so I won't. But I genuinely think that it's pathetic that a team like this is a winning record team and no one could be bothered. I know there's not that many night classes every single
Right,
Wednesday night. I know there's not. I
right.
know I know for a genuine fact that people are sitting inside doing nothing. Come on, man. What do you
Well,
do? What do you go to college for on weeknights? Like
how
you
many
go
of them are
watch your sports
commuters?
teams.
How many of them are commuters, dude? That's the problem.
Oh,
They don't
I
want to.
mean,
They don't want
yes,
to
but
go.
also
They don't.
there's so
They,
many.
and and the students, dude. I hate to say this, but you know, I'll bet if we go through our enrollment, okay, the majority of them are female, okay, uh, and uh, and
I
we're in
don't
a
think that
nursing
matters. So you
school.
got 5 floors on St. Anne's of freshmen that love sports
Right.
I was gonna say
on
we've
the
got
east
so
side. I
many.
know
I'm
people would
just
go.
saying, dude.
No, Rudy, you're
You
not wrong. I mean, the average college sports fan and like men's basketball fan is male. In fact, the average female basketball fan is male. Like, I mean, men watch more sports than women do, even if it's men watching women's sports.
right,
It's true. And Duquesne is mostly female. Like we're talking like north of 60%. But I'm
right.
with Jack in that there are still, look at St. Anne's. There's like how many floors that are just one side that's all male? Because we have it
There's
co-ed, but it's
6 floors
in the wing.
actually.
Yeah,
Right. And it's all male. And
can't
a
forget
lot of them
about
are
the
just
basement down
sitting
there.
there. They're just sitting there. Right.
I know, dude. I don't understand it. Look,
Drives me insane.
we used to trudge out to the civic arena during the
Hmm.
winter. I mean, when when people were getting knocked off academic walk because of the ice, when the wind would blow, and I mean, dude, I don't see any kind of that kind of enthusiasm
You
for
know,
us. I mean,
basketball was invented, literally invented by James Naismith in Springfield, Massachusetts, for the purpose of the YMCA telling him we need something to do in the winter that we can do indoors. So there can be something. And then when the game caught on in popularity, people realized this is crappy weather. We can't do anything outside. So they all gathered in gyms to watch their teams. And it was like, that's why in like cold weather areas, like even up in Alaska, they turn out for like basketball
right,
because that's what it's in Canada. They
dude.
turn out for it. Why
It's a
can't we in bad weather when this is your chance to come together as a community in a
no.
warm, friendly, fun area? Why not come into inside PPG Paints or Cooper? It's literally a 30-second walk from some of these dorms.
I
I don't
know,
understand.
dude. So
But then
I can't relate. I cannot relate and talk about this because I cannot relate. I mean, I cannot relate. Me
Well,
no,
we can,
me no speak English.
well we could belabor this forever, and we are. I want to pivot to the women. The women's basketball team is now set. I should say, the women's standings in the Atlantic 10 are now set for the A-10 championships. And the ladies, I'm going to bring up the bracket here now. As aforementioned, the ladies have finished with the 12 seed, so they didn't avoid the first four, but that's because of I think what Nick, 0 and 11 or 0 and 12 start to conference season for the women. But really, let's give them credit how they've come on lately. I mean, I know they lost yesterday to George Mason, despite, by the way, coming out pretty good in the first quarter. My team and I were right behind the bench. So we lost 65 to 48, but prior to that, 2 wins in a row. Then there's a loss, but there's another win, then an overtime loss. I mean, the team really has turned it around, haven't they, Nick, since
no,
basically February? I mean, this whole last month, they've played their best basketball. So even though they're going to be in the bottom four, in a weird way, I kind of like that they have a chance to get another win, as a young team playing in the tournament to go to Henrico and pick up a win and get that sense of, hey, like survive and advance. Even if they lose to St. Joe's in the next round, I think it's all positive.
Yeah, I kind of wish we played any other team besides St. Joe's in the second round, but
Mm.
regardless, yeah, this team is
yeah,
playing a lot better. I mean, I brought it up last pod. Since the Loyola game, they've held teams under 70 points every game, win or loss. I mean, George Mason being top of the conference, they're not supposed to score just 65 points in a game. So even when the offense is struggling, they've found a defensive identity that's working. Um, Offensively, I was actually encouraged in the George Mason game because Raina Green and Gabby Grantham Medley kind of led the charge. Those are the two role players that aren't necessarily the two that you're counting on to score points consistently. That's Bortis and Mac Black. So if we get those two performing along with a Bortis or Mac Black showing up, our chances of winning go way up, even against the St. Joe's team. And VCU, I don't want to overlook them, but we did beat them at home just what, a week ago? Yeah,
Mhm.
a week ago, uh, with VCU showing up and trying to out pink out our pink out. We won that game convincingly, and then the St. Louis game, who kind of put started our skid at the start of conference play, we went to their house and dominated them in a very physical game. So
Mhm.
I do think they've turned it around for the most part. It's just avoiding those turnovers that Dan has probably cursed under his breath and out loud many a time this season. And winning the rebounding was the big issue in George Mason. We gave up a lot of offensive rebound opportunities, even when we played good defense. So if we're able to do that, and our scorers are actually able to put the ball in the basket, we could win those two games. And if you're playing a team on a double bye, you never know if they come out a little rusty, and we might be able to surprise some teams. I don't expect that, but this team is playing a lot better.
Jack, any thoughts on the ladies team?
I honestly, I think that this when it rains, it pours. And they just could not find a single win. And listen, when they got that win against Loyola Chicago, first off, that's a heck of a win to do it against Loyola Chicago. I had like a couple other teams outlined on the remainder of the schedule, like, oh, well, if they don't win against them, they're totally screwed. I don't know. They've been playing better basketball. I think my biggest problem and my biggest concern is the turnovers. The turnover rate for this team, I've never seen a team turn over the ball 25 plus times on a consistent basis. You can't do that in the A-10 tournament. You got to protect the ball. But they had that win against St. Louis where they didn't turn the ball over like madmen. So I have faith that they can, yeah, like 559 turnovers in a what are they,
20 a
28
game.
game sample size is
Yeah.
pretty brutal. Like that's insanity. But
Mhm.
I think that they're playing better basketball and they're getting the contributions. It was Alexis Borders who needed to do everything for a
Right.
solid like 25 game, sample size. But now you're getting Blackford, like Nick said, to pour in some points. I think Raina Green's getting some better performances as
Brandon
well.
Green.
And you're starting to get something from everyone else, a pulse offensively when you're running that offense. So I'm excited to see where it turns out for them. I don't have these wild high in the sky expectations, but if they can win a game in the A-10 tournament, it sure looks like a better season for Dan Burt than it would be if they just get first rounded. I'm happy because Coach Burt is a great guy from what I've seen. He's been nothing but nice to me. It would have really sucked if he was not able to find a win this year with his team. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, Dan, such a great guy. I mentioned he had my seventh grade team from Baldwin at the game yesterday, and first class as usual comes over and says hi to the team, talks to the girls, and Meg McConnell, who's a product of this, no, not surprisingly, gave us all the time in the world. Because Meg's been on the podcast and she's a friend of the show, I texted her and I said, "I see you down there. You know, my girls are pumped. I pointed you out." And this young lady right here is my girlfriend's daughter. She spends her summers in Phoenix. So I told Megan, I said, we watched your first game, on my patio. We went, out last summer, we were swimming. And I said, hey, game's starting. And we had a watch party for the Mercury. And then we watched you get hurt. And I was like, oh, Gianna, you're not going to, she was going to go to Mercury games all summer. Her mom, my girlfriend's also a Duquesne alum. And this girl is a great basketball player, G, just like my daughter Rhiannon is. And yeah, we had fun at the game, and then the best part for them though was Megan posed for a photo with us, and then because it was jersey giveaway day and we brought Sharpies, she signed every kid's jersey.
That's
Um,
awesome.
just awesome stuff. What it's all about, I mentioned, and yeah, she just couldn't have been kinder. It doesn't surprise me because of the way that program is. You mentioned Jack, it's just first class people. Dan and his
Yeah.
crew. So I'm happy for them that they didn't have to go winless all season. Like that would be a nightmare in the
Yeah.
A-10. And again, they're in position, like Nick said, like they could maybe win a couple tournament games. And since they're so young, Like I trust Dan. I trust the staff. It clearly didn't lose these girls all year. They kept them focused and they're playing their best basketball late here into March. So it's a good sign. Any last
It's the
thoughts?
best
Anyone
time
here
to
on the
play good
women?
basketball.
Yeah.
Exactly. You said it. Any other last thoughts on the ladies?
I just want to say that that's probably the most remarkable thing is that these ladies, despite losing that many games in a row, never gave up and have been locked in this entire time. And Dan said it repeatedly on every post-game presser. I've
Get
talked
up
to
off
the
the
other
mat.
coaches as well. Every practice they've been bought in. There hasn't been any heads
Yeah.
down. They've been working hard. Uh, Truly a remarkable sign that they did fight back and have this successful month here. Um, I did want to add, because of my position, I got to see Dan talking to the Duquesne Duke mascot, Blue Fossa, his entire walk up to
Oh
start
gosh.
the game. And I found out that it was because I guess it was the mascot's last game. He gave a card to Melissa and Dan thanking
Oh.
them for all these 4 years. And so just another sign of the great things that Dan and Melissa and the rest of the team do to make things special for everybody involved.
Yeah, from the
Yeah, it's
mascot all the way to the trainers to the Megan McConnell. Or yeah, exactly.
yeah, dude, I just got to say that it's a testimony of his resilience, Dan Burt's resilience, and he's just a good coach, man. He never loses his people. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
it's just a testimony to uh, the class individual that he is. So anyway, uh,
And a shout out to his staff. It takes a whole group there to keep them focused. And we got to see it from right behind their bench where they put my girls yesterday. And yeah, I mean everybody involved throughout that whole game, even late in the game, right? The whole bench still involved, the entire time. And Dan uses a lot of his coaches as sort of like offensive, defensive coordinators. It really is a full team effort. So I want to give a shout out to that whole staff. It's obviously not just Dan, Brianna Thomas, Frank Ferraro, Rick Bell, RJ Bell. Michaela Porter. A lot of us know Melissa Franco, director of basketball ops. Can't forget about her. Graduate assistant Cole McFadden. Now I'm looking it up here. Yeah, great staff, and good luck. Good luck to the Duquesne ladies. We will be following. Let
One
me
more
pivot
thing about
forward. Oh,
one
sorry.
more
Go
thing
ahead, Jack.
about Dan Burt. I just remember this. I do want to shout him out for all the times he was nothing but gracious with the media. And honestly, for a team that was 0 and 12 at one point, going in there and having to ask questions is certainly for
wow,
me, it was a
wow,
challenge because you're it's the same thing over and over again. But Dan Burt,
wow,
I mean, if
wow,
you get
man.
asked these questions so many times over, you're due to have like an outburst at one point. No,
Yeah,
nothing but
wow,
calm,
yeah.
gracious. And there was one time, I think we stayed almost like 20 minutes after the tape had stopped rolling on the press conference one day, and he was just talking to us like humans. And I think that's something very valuable to me that I won't forget.
Yeah.
Shout out Burt, Dan Burt.
Good luck to the
Yeah.
ladies and obviously the men's teams, and we're going to be keeping you guys abreast of that hopefully next week on another episode. I want to call out the women's lacrosse team. Got their first win of the season, 21-4
Oh yeah.
on past Wednesday. This was a game at Mercyhurst. So the Dukes ladies now just 1-4 overall, but kudos on their first win. So hopefully as that team gets into conference play, things start to look up. The quick mention of the box score here. Dukes were led with 4 goals by Sydney Girardi, 5 goals by Emma Rains, 3 goals by Chelsea Evans, and 3 more by Allie Evans. So it looked like a complete team victory there. Also wanted to point out this cool piece of news, if you'll beg my clicking around here. Hopefully this refreshes. So one of the Duquesne's newest sports, triathlon, women's triathlon, had a pretty
Yeah.
cool moment over the weekend. Actually earlier today, I guess. This story broke that freshman on the team, Catherine Staley, actually placed first out of all the individuals in the college level or NCAA level of this triathlon event at a pretty big one, apparently, down in Florida. So this is called the Claremont Draft Legal. I
Wow.
forget it's like one of the biggest ones in the country for like USA Triathlon, especially at the college level. And she finished first out of all the NCAA
Wow.
competitors. So this is not an NCAA championship sport just yet. It's one of the emerging sports. But if you look at all of the NCAA institutions that have triathlon around the country, you can see how many and she finished first in the competition that's known as the Super Sprint. So that's pretty cool, especially as a freshman. So I wanted to call out Catherine Staley. We don't get much triathlon news on here, but that's pretty neat. So we'll keep an eye on that. Something else we're keeping our eye on is the women's acrobatics and tumbling team. I know they had what maybe was a disappointing loss to Gannon, but I want to mention if you haven't seen any acrobatics and tumbling, this is from the Instagram page for the team. So this is at DUQ Acro Tum, just to give you an example of like kind of how this works, right? So this
If
is,
you haven't checked them out, you should.
go ahead, Jack. You were saying you've been there, right? You've seen these.
Yeah, yeah. I got the chance to call the first matchup of the season for Duquesne, and what it basically is for people who don't know, it's a meet. There are six different events, and one of the events is a tumbling, and you'll have different different moves. That I believe is like a six element, and if you're able to complete it well, you'll get a high score. So when I was looking at the box score for Gannon, I was not able to watch it, but you were able to tell that they had a slim lead after the first three events and hung tight. But the difference was that team events, that the final dance where you're combining tumbling, acrobatics, all the five things before all into one, and Duquesne was outscored by four there. The margin of victory for Gannon was five. So yeah, put two and two together, a 4 point margin on an event. That's your difference, and it's a lot of fun because that came down to the final event. Like this is something that usually you're going to get really good matchups. West Liberty was only a blowout only because Duquesne is number seven in the nation. They're just a better team. But you're just able to see so much that listen, I can't do anything that they're doing.
Right.
I couldn't even hold the base in the acrobatics event. It's incredible. And I got a couple of people, like there was a freshman that I know of that does stuff for me with DSTV. I remember that night I had met up with him, talked, and he was just like, "Oh my God, that was unreal." And I'm like, "Yeah, I had that same reaction a year ago." It's incredible. So it's worth checking out. And they're very good too. They're, ranked in the nation, so they're worth a watch.
It's a cool spectator sport.
Oh
And by
yeah.
the way, out from not exactly Rudy's neck of the woods, but Azusa Pacific from SoCal is coming across the country to play us
Yeah.
in on Wednesday. And apparently, this is Kids Day at Cooper Fieldhouse for this event. It is a cool spectator sport. My girls loved when I took them to one last season. That's a number 10 team in the country, so it's an early, matchup of two nationally ranked teams. And apparently, next season, this is going to be an NCAA championship sport. So,
Yes.
and Duquesne's good at it. So I think it's kind of cool. So if you have a chance to get to the Cooper Fieldhouse Wednesday at 6, from what I understand, it's free admission. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
cool thing. And Jack, you said you're on the call sometimes for ESPN Plus. So you guys broadcasting that one?
Yes, I will. I'll not be able to call that one, but April 9th, senior day, I will be calling that one. It's kind of weird. They don't get as many home games. I think
Hmm.
last year they didn't really, but it was also their first year. This year they only got three. But that's also
Hmm.
because you're going to go to some really cool places like Baylor. Baylor, one of the teams that has been around since the inception of the sport. So they're pretty experienced. I'd have to imagine they get a lot of good recruits.
And then the last piece of Olympic news that I want to get to today, the women's indoor track and field team competed at the Atlantic 10 Championships. Unfortunately, there were no Atlantic 10 individual gold medalists like we saw from the track team in our last show, but the ladies did finish seventh out of 13. And I wanted to point out that is the conclusion of their indoor season. So congrats anyway for the seventh place finish to the for the women. There were a number of notable individual
Yeah.
performances. There were some medalists, so I don't want to discount, the performances of the team. For example, Brandy Brozeski claimed a bronze medal in the pentathlon on day two. That was sort of the highlight of day two. And if in day one, Duquesne had oh, I beg your pardon, that was actually on day one that she claimed the bronze in the pentathlon, which is the women's multi-event. Um, and for day two, beg your pardon, as I had this ready and now it disappeared on me, but Duquesne did have a number of other medalists that I want to give some love to here while we have a chance. By the way, this is again, since the indoor season is concluding, The ladies will play the outdoor season now. Their first event will be the 49er Classic. I remember going to that when I was on the track team.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that's March 20th through the 21st. That's in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're the Charlotte 49ers. Um, I know there was a silver medalist. Here we go. For the Dukes, and I believe it was in school record fashion. The best way for me to do this is actually to grab something off the news off Instagram. In the meantime, while I look this up, I wanted to give you guys a chance to kind of give your last thoughts on anything we've talked about so far. And Rudy, I'll start with you.
Oh well, keep it up. Well, not keep it up for the last
Did
three
you
games,
freeze
but
on us? Rudy might have froze. Nick, in the
no, no, no,
meantime,
no.
All right,
Can you hear
Rudy's
me?
Nick,
back.
give
I'm
us your
back.
final thoughts. Anything we've talked about here today?
I'm
Yeah,
back. I don't. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Hey,
we can
there's Rudy.
There we
go
go.
ahead.
All
By
right.
the way, Rudy, just in time, I wanted to point out that the silver medalist for the Duke, there was a 1,000 meter second place performance. That was a program record in the 1,000 meters, and that was a silver medal for the Dukes. That was Sylvia Kashik, Kashak, with a silver medal performance in the 1,000 meters in school record fashion. Go ahead, Rudy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's get back on the
And we might
winning
be out of
ways.
Rudy Longarini time.
I don't know
But yeah,
why.
shout out to Sylvia. Go ahead, Nick. Give us your thoughts.
Damn it. Damn it. I don't know.
I
Can
think
you
you're
hear me?
lagging on us. You're lagging, Rudy. Just hold tight. I'm gonna hear from Nick. Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, but it's coming in late. Your video's frozen. It's coming in. You're hearing me on a delay. So Nick, you just go ahead, bud.
All right. So for the guys, I just want to say shout out to Dave Dixon. Thank you for all 4 years that you've given us so far and this last bit of a run that you're going to give us here. Truly incredible career, winningest Duke in school history, and hopefully you can tack on some more. Uh, cannot stress enough that anybody who listens and can, please, please make your way down to the Chuck Cooper Classic on Saturday.
We didn't get to say bye to Kareem, the way that we have a chance to say goodbye to Dave. And so I'm looking forward to that too. That he absolutely deserves a loud ovation and a standing one. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I'm right there with Nick. I think that Dave Dixon has given so much to his program that if you are able to, and if you go back a day early as a student, it's a duty. You got to go down there and thank him because he's not just a good person or a great player on the court. He's a good person off the court. You know,
He
I
is.
I've gotten a chance to interact with him numerous times. Good person. So certainly all the more reason to go down there and give him the flowers that he deserves. Because yeah, like you said with Kareem, also a great guy off the court, and also was able to talk with him off the court. So I wish that we had that opportunity with Kareem, but obviously greener pastures over there at oh my God, Winthrop. I almost said Wofford. And Winthrop has a chance to win their conference tournament. Not too bad this year from them. So a shout out to Dave. That's really it. Shout out to at oh that's Dave on Instagram.
Hey, Nick, there was a former Dukes women's player who's going to the tournament, right?
Yeah, Angela Matic hit a buzzer beater
Yes.
to get their team into the or to win their conference. So great
Wow.
great news from her. Yeah, a lot of Duke's transfers have done some pretty amazing things this year. Between her, Matus Ronsky hit a buzzer beater earlier this year, and I mean Kareem's really
Yeah.
been going off at Winthrop. So great for everybody.
And luckily for us, we Dave Dixon stuck around, and we have a chance to say goodbye to him in a great fashion. It was 47 years between NCAA tournament appearances, and Dave was such a big part of that, obviously, to make that happen for us. And it had been even longer since they'd won a tournament game. And guys like Dave Dixon, obviously, they're still here, from that team. And eventually we'll get to do this for Natchez too, hopefully, and DeMichael and those guys. But
Right.
it's Dave Dixon's turn. Rudy, you're back live with us. You get to close us
I
out.
don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm afraid to talk, but yeah, dude, just keep it up. We got to get these two games coming up, Rhode Island and Richmond, and going a positive note. And it's going to be tough up at Rhode Island, so that's not going to be a given that we're going to go in there and beat them. But we got to let's just try to see some improvement over the last two games, in particular. And then as far as the ladies are concerned, they're going into conference tournament, and you never know what's going to happen with either team. So that's all I got to say. Let's go Dukes.
Jack, thanks for joining us. This is Jack's
Thank you.
Twitter at I'm Jack on the call. Jack, you got to cover your final basketball game at the Cooper Fieldhouse back on February 25th. That place was built for
Yeah.
students like you to come through the sports info program and to take advantage of all that. And so I'm glad to see that you've definitely grabbed the bull by the horns, right, and did everything that we wanted you to do as a student here. So kudos to you, and you can read Jack's stuff on A10Talk.com. He'll be covering the men's basketball championships coming up. And then in the meantime, Jack also does a bunch of Duquesne student media work. And if you find him on at I'm Jack on the call, and then also on Instagram, where can we find you?
JackMorgan.media.
There you go as well. So for Jack, for Nick, for Rudy, I'm Bob Healy. We'll see you at the Cooper Fieldhouse. Shoo, shoo, rah, rah. Let's go, Dukes.
Go Dukes.
Good night, guys.